This video has 3 parts. The first is about getting legal. The second is about finding the homeschoolers and unschoolers near you. And the third is about tapping into your local community. We're going to cover a lot of ground quickly, making sure that you get legal and that you get connected within the unschooling community. I'm including a PDF for you to print so that you can fill it out while we're talking. It will help you stay organized and it will help you stay clear on what we're talking about. So, know your laws. Getting legal is always on everyone's mind when they first start out, probably because unschooling can sometimes seem too good to be true. But unschooling is perfectly legal in all 50 states and many countries. Unschooling follows all the laws that pertain to home education. It's simply a homeschooling method under that home education umbrella. The tricky part is that laws vary from state to state. So it's important to get certain questions answered. What's expected in your state or country? So here's the PDF that we're going to walk through, and a couple of things for you to notice when you're Googling about your state laws. These education laws usually have applicable age ranges. So if your child is under that age, you have a little time before you have to figure this all out. Same goes for the top age. Maybe it no longer applies, so check that. The second thing to know, when I say that states vary on what's required, I mean some states require testing at certain grade levels, many do not. Some that do require testing don't require that the tests be turned in anywhere. Some require that you keep these tests for only a certain number of years. Some require certain subjects to be covered within the curriculum, but it's very loose on what is considered curriculum. Some require that parents have a certain level of education. Many do not. Some require certain progress reports be turned in annually to the school district. Some require evaluators for each child. And if you live in a state with this requirement, that's why it's important to find the locals and to get information on the evaluators that are available to you. But many states require no oversight at all. So you'll want to know what's required where you live and how families are meeting that requirement. And next, we're going to find the locals. This is really the best way to figure out everything about your laws, too. It's always best to check with the locals when we're talking about the legal requirements for homeschoolers. And I have links to help you do that. The Unschooling Mom2Mom webpage with lists of Unschooling Mom2Mom Facebook groups and some websites in there with threads for various states and countries. Their websites often have details about how you meet those legal requirements and how you keep up with any changes that might be happening. But it's not a secret. You can always Google and find out what's required. Write in homeschooling laws in whatever your state or country is, and then Google it. Remember, these groups that you identify, even if you're lucky enough to live where there's a statewide organization, it's all volunteer run. So be patient with them and their response time. Or try multiple emails to see if you can find somebody. Lots of groups have Facebook pages, so using the search box will help you find answers to your questions almost immediately. But this isn't an organized system. Think of it like a pop-up community that surfaces because someone's kids need other kids to do something with. These often start as little field trip groups, going to different things out in the community, but with other kids too. And often they can happen in the daytime without the after school or the weekend crowds. So look to see if your homeschooling or unschooling groups nearby offer something like this. And it's not that hard to start something up, so we can talk about that if you're not finding what you need. I have a podcast about this and I'll link it. That also reminds me that as a parent who prefers the unschooling philosophy, you may not find other unschoolers nearby. You may find more traditional homeschoolers. There are more of them for sure. And because they do a more system-based approach to learning, and we have a more learner-based angle, they may have some systems set up, co-ops, planned activities, things like that. As unschoolers, you don't have to only associate with other unschoolers. You start to make associations with people whose kids share your kids' interests. Your kid loves wild play at the park. It doesn't matter what they think about their learning style or their educational approach. You may agree to disagree, but if the kids get along, that's the focus. Sometimes you need other parents to bounce ideas off of. And in some of these groups, you may find it difficult to find parents who have a more gentle parenting approach. That's okay. My guess is that one or two other people in the group feel the same way. You just have to be on the lookout for them. And a lot of parents stay connected in these more academic focused or even authoritarian style parenting groups because it works for their kids and not so much for them. You can get your own cup filled by joining an online group where you can bounce ideas off of other parents who are more child focused or learner driven. I have a membership group with lots of parents in exactly this situation. The local community is more traditional, so the online group gives them somewhere they can bring ideas and talk it through. So I'll make sure you have the link in case you need that too. And then number 3, tapping into communities. We are all about getting out there and exploring the world, and school is not that. So you're going to look around and think like a tourist. Well, your child is the tourist and you're the tour guide, the resource finder. Just like if you had somebody coming to stay in your town for the first time, you wouldn't only take them to the things you enjoy, but you'd go to the things you think they would enjoy. Same with unschooling. If you have a kid who loves the outdoors, you're going to look for nature centers and trails and hikes and state parks and outdoor activities. If you have a child who likes the comfort of inside, you may focus more on libraries and museums, aquariums, theaters, places with heat and air conditioning. And thankfully, most people are not all one or the other. They may prefer some things to others, but they don't necessarily detest it. One of the things I tell parents to do is think of a scale from 1 to 10. If your kid loves something, it's a 10. Other things may not be 10s, but they're more like 6s or 7s. You'll add those into your week, but proportionately. For instance, they love video games or Legos or playing make-believe. Those are their 10s. They like hiking up to the waterfall nearby or exploring on the trail, but not as much. It's a 6. Turns into a 7 or an 8 once they're there usually. So you do that once a week. But say they break out in hives when they're outside, when they sweat, then it's more like a 2. So skip that. See what I mean? I think sometimes parents think that unschooling only means doing things kids love. We do that, but that's not the only thing that happens. We help them explore the world. We move towards things that we think, because we've been around them a lot and we've given them a lot of opportunities to show us their preference in various ways, that we have a pretty good idea of what will be a hit and what will be a flop. And even that's going to be trial and error. We can talk to our kids about everything being an experiment. We're seeing what we like and what we don't like as we build out our very individualized life. And learning will be the byproduct of that. And more about that in the next video. But before you go, make sure that you have the PDF so that you can write all these things down. You may think you can remember it all, but I promise you, you'll forget. Start a notebook or an online file with these PDFs and information that you discover as you move along the way. It might make you feel better to think of it as the start of your own unschooling curriculum.